Hi, this is Jim Francis from Dare to Be Rich. In this session, I'd like to talk about a major financial concept or wealth concept that can make a major difference in your life. And it's really called man at work versus assets at work. I do believe, right, that we can have a rich and rewarding life, just as I have had and many of my mentors have as well. In fact, I've had 50 plus millionaires and 2 billionaires as mentors, and I believe that is one of the reasons that I am successful because I follow a very simple plan. And that plan is following the SBA principle. I got to find strategies, I have to adopt belief systems of successful people, and then finally I have to take the action that's necessary. And one of those things was to have a bigger dream than working for a living. And I think that the dreams inspire us, but then the strategies, the belief, and the action will get us there. So we definitely want to make sure we dream big, right? Your dream should be bigger than working the job. Your dream should be bigger than what I call the 40-40-40 plan. Working 40 hours a week for 40 years only to live on 40% in retirement. And it actually gets worse than that. It's not about finding ourselves, it's about designing ourselves, right? And we want to make sure that we design a life that's inspirational, a life that's full of adventure and fun and excitement, and also money and health and wealth and things of that nature as well. So let's design a life that's incredible. And we have a choice. We can work what I call the 40-40-40 plan, working for somebody else, having them control our time, having them control our direction, having them control the amount of time that we spend with our family because we have to work hard, right? And we can live what I call the 777 plan. The 777 plan is a 7-figure income or greater using 7 major areas in the next 7 years. And in fact, I believe you can get there earlier, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years. But we've got to make that choice first of all, and then change the plan to get to the 777 plan. We are told in our culture, our society, either by parents or by the school system or society in general, that the plan is really to go man at work. And I don't want to exclude the women, so I'll put women at work as well, right? But most people go into working for a living, which usually means JOB, just over broke, right? And we're kind of taught what the plan is. Go to school, get a good education, get a good job. Then once you get a good job, you got to buy a house. Once you can buy a house, you got to get married. Once you get married, you got to have kids, and then you pass that plan on to the next generation, and they're broke and slaves to the job forever. And we're often told that also the government or the job will look after us and we'll have this wonderful retirement, which is not true either. So we've got to make the choice earlier in life or even later in life to abandon the man at work to put assets at work. So this is a great concept, great idea. So suddenly we go choose what I know what I need to do. I need to start my own business. So, we get a sole proprietorship or a sole trader if you're in the UK and put that big S in our chest and we become self-employed. But we don't realize that all we've done is kind of improve things a little bit because we get some tax deductions. We get to control our time a little bit, but we're still trading time for money. And that's not truly a job. The true definition of a job is a business that earns cash where we don't have to be there, right? So it's okay for us to work in that job initially to get it up and running, but we eventually want to have a situation where the job is making money for us and we're not a slave to that job either, and we can go do other things. So the key is not to trade time for money. The key is to have assets at work for us. And that's a major shift for a lot of people. And if we don't make that shift, unfortunately, retirement looks pretty poor. In the US, UK area, Canada, wherever you might be, if you're at 65 or 67, 22% of the population must continue to work because they didn't have enough money to look after themselves in retirement. 28% rely on the social system or the government to look after themselves. 45% rely on family, which means you better be good to your kids because they may be looking after you in your old age. 4% meet the basic needs of life. And I got to tell you what the number is. That's £1 million in the UK, 1.2 million in the US, 1.3 in Canada, right? And that's just to live comfortably in retirement. And even that million can be burned away in less than 10 years at 100 grand a year, right? And less than 1% are truly financially independent. They can do what they want with whom they want as much as they want. And if you want to be one of those people, you need to make the decisions today, to build a second income stream, a third income stream. Put your assets at work, and become part of the 1% with respect to it, right? And we don't want to be a sole proprietor. What we want to do is put our assets at work. And when I say assets at work, there's 7 major areas that you want to put your assets at work. Number one, is you want to work on yourself first. I learned this from Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune. I also learned from Jim Rohn, you are the sum total of the 5 people you hang around with. You hang around with people that make 60 grand a year, you're going to make 60 grand a year. Hang out with people that make $500,000, you're going to make $500,000. Hang out with millionaires, you're probably going to be the 6th millionaire, right? So we definitely want to make sure, we're not just working on the job, but we're working on ourselves. And that's the first of the 7 major areas. We want to work on me, right? If I become worth more money in the open marketplace, I can sell my skills in the open marketplace for more cash. I know personally, as I worked on my self-talk, I worked on my belief systems, I started to believe I was worth more. Then I developed skill sets like influence, skill sets like negotiation, skill sets like selling, skills like speaking. As those skill sets started to become better, I became worth more money, and I knew I could sell my skill set in the open marketplace, either to companies or corporations or in the general marketplace for more cash. So we always want to work on ourselves first. That's always number one, because we are our most important asset, no question. Second is a business. We want to build a business. And when I say build a business, not a sole proprietor, not a sole trader, not one of those people where we're trading time for money, but a business that the business makes money, and we don't have to be there to run the business. Work on the business, not in the business. So in my life, I've always said, geez, I want to work in a business for 6 to 12 months, and then I want to scale it, replace myself, so I can go do other things. And another way of looking at that is putting digital assets to work. We all have skill sets, and as we build those skill sets, or a hobby or a skill set or a technique, we actually can build a digital product to sell that online. And we sell it through social media, we sell it through ads, and as we do that, it automatically gets delivered so that we don't have to be there to do any of that work. Putting, digital assets to work, no question. We want to put property to work, real estate to work. There's different ways to buy property. Some of it is no money down or low money down. Some of it, you put cash down, but cash flowing assets like property, like real estate, is a great investment with respect to it. Money. Let's make our money make money. Let's learn about trading. Now listen to me really closely. I'm not saying give your money to somebody else and let them trade. What I'm saying to you is learn how to trade. Learn something simple like covered calls, where you can make almost 1% a month on Coca-Cola by renting it out rather than letting it grow. So there are techniques in there with options and futures and those kinds of things where you can make money on trading, better than 7% a year, which is the 100-year average in the stock market. Already mentioned IP, no question. Get intellectual property, work on structures and asset protection, and of course we need to work on tax strategies. 1/3 to 1/2 of your wealth is going to come through tax planning, so let's make sure we're making all of our lifestyle tax deductible. Kids allowance, make them work in your business and give them some cash for doing that. Travel, if you're traveling, make sure it's a business trip so that you can write it off, right? And we should never be worried about the cost of education, the cost of mentorship, the cost of learning, because the result from the learning will pay for the investment. I know in my own personal life in the seminar business, when I started to want to be in the seminar business, going from a Fortune 500 company for 8.5 years, I spent some time with Tony Robbins. I bought a franchise from him. The reason I bought his franchise was because it had a systematic approach to delivering workshops, the marketing plan, the way that we would sell, the way we would influence, the way we would get people to buy tickets. That was all part of that plan. Now, it was tough for me at age, 28, to think about buying a franchise when I was only making 60 grand a year, but I did, right? And I bought a $20,000 franchise, and that next year made $245,000. I wouldn't have made that if I had worried about the cost of the investment. What I had to think about was the result that I was going to get out of it. I made a shift in my life to move from Toronto, Canada to the Orlando, Florida to work with a guy named Charles Givens because he was a financial best-selling author, knew 400 strategies and finances that I didn't know. Eventually I became a partner with him and I taught his program Super Self, Super Mind for a while. I actually got buying and selling property. As I got doing property, 2 deals my first year, 6 my next year, 36 my third year, he asked me if I would do some teaching in terms of property, which I did, and I made more money. Made money from the property, made money from him as well. I know my own life when I started my own seminar business after Chuck had passed away. The first year I did 900 grand, next year 12 million, next year 26 million, next year 46 million, because I didn't work in the business, I worked on the business. I let the business make money while I was off doing something else, right? So we definitely want to make sure we're doing that. Property. I've got some great checks from property, 16K, 8K, 12K, 25K, 54K, so we definitely want to make sure we're working on business. We definitely want to make sure we're working ourselves. We definitely want to make sure we're working on property or real estate because it can be the difference between success and failure. Intellectual properties, I've built dozens of them, whether it's sales products or wealth products or ways to make money or negotiate, or real estate with respect to it. We want to make sure we're building IPs that make money while we're sleeping. I also know that there's 4 major things that hold people back when they're going on the journey of the 7 major areas to get to 7 figures in the next 7 years. And those 4 belief systems kind of hold people back. The 4 big belief systems that hold people back is number 1, the use of debt. Number 2, no cheating. Number 3, do it myself. And the 4th, I can't. So let me address each of them to help you push past them to get to success, to put you on the path to wealth, which will give you health and the financial freedom that you want. Number 1 is debt is bad, right? Which is a terrible, terrible thing to begin with, right? Because debt is wonderful. Debt is wonderful if it's for improving me as an asset. Debt is wonderful if it's for cash flowing assets like property, like learning how to trade, like a small business, or like IPs. So we definitely want to make sure we realize that we want cash flowing assets with debt. That's great leverage, fantastic debt. Another thing is we're taught we can't cheat, right? We're not supposed to cheat in school. We can't look at somebody else's notes. You can't borrow them, right? And I really do believe in the power of R&D. Now, most of you out there are thinking R&D stands for research and development. It doesn't. It stands for rip off and duplicate. Find somebody who's successful, learn their strategies, know their belief systems, the steps that they take, and simply duplicate what they're doing. It'll save you so much time. You'll get there. It'll compress time and get you there quicker, right? So we definitely want to use R&D, rip off and duplicate somebody else's results, right? Now, I'm not saying copyright infringement. I'm saying take the concepts and ideas and apply them in your life to build wealth, to get the health, to get the happiness, to enjoy life. And the last one, third one that really bothers me quite a bit is most people will say, do it myself, right? I'm pretty smart, so I know I can figure it out eventually. The problem is I don't realize what eventually means, right? It is said that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in any discipline if you work on it yourself, right? Well, 10,000 hours, if I dedicate 5 hours a week, I'll be an expert in 39 years. 10 hours a week, 19 years. 20 hours a week, 9 years. And if I work 40, 50 hours a week, I'll get there in 4.3 years. Man, there's a better plan. The better plan is to get a coach or a mentor. Better plan is to get a team. Better plan is to have the support, and get there, but get there much quicker by compressing time. So don't do it yourself. Get that coach, get that mentor with respect to it. And the last one that drives me a little bit crazy is people say, I can't afford it. I can't afford the time. I can't afford the money. And I know that as a limiting belief system holds people back. And anytime I find myself saying I can't, I must go do it, from Tony Robbins, or I say, how can I? And if you say, how can I, you'll get the right answer as opposed to the wrong answer telling you why you can't, right? Whatever you believe and conceive, you can achieve, but you have to believe in it. So we definitely want to make sure if we're going to go for it in life, if we're going to do the 7-7 plan, if we're going to go live our dreams, if we're going to get to 7-figure income, $1 million plus, right, that we're taking those steps today, we're confronting those 4 major belief systems, moving forward past them, and working on the 7 areas. And if you do that, you'll design a life that's a masterpiece, just as I have. This is Jim Francis saying so long for now. I'll see you next time.